Welcome to this first webinar of Coperitas. My name is Mike van Vuren and I will be presenting today's webinar together with my colleague Richard Slimmen.
Good afternoon all. My name is Richard Slimmen, and during this brief webinar we will introduce you to Coperitas and our vision on TP tooling.
If you have any questions during this webinar, do not hesitate to ask your questions in the Q&A box on the right. We try to answer all questions during this webinar, and regarding any unanswered questions, we will come back to you after this webinar. So let's kick off. If we take a look at the recent developments within the transfer pricing landscape, there's a lot to tell. So Richard, can you guide us through your thoughts about trends you see from a TP consultancy perspective?
Yes, thank you, Mike. Of course, this is not a webinar to go into the deep of transfer pricing consultancy, but a relevant development, I think, is about transfer pricing compliance. Due to a global increase in TP-specific compliance requirements, we see M&Es having to deal with increasing strains on their resources, both people-wise and money-wise. They're faced with substantial annual TP documentation requirements that they need to comply with, and outsourcing this would become extremely costly. So due to this reason, a lot of M&Es started to perform compliance work in-house more than they did before. Doing all this compliance in-house with the internal tax department would require substantial resources at the cost of giving proper attention to other more important matters like conceptual risk evaluation, design, strategy, optimizing your TP policy. Now, software automation and standardization can be a part of the solution to create time, to free up time for other important matters. Like, for instance, risk management and other related tax opportunities.
So, Richard, do you see a shift towards the use of software for efficiency purposes?
Yes, not only for efficiency purposes, but most of the time efficiency is very important goal and result of using software.
Yeah, very clear. Thank you. And if we look at Coperitas, why did you start with the development of Coperitas, as we see that TP software is already available in the market?
I think it's a good question, Mike. Of course, we are aware of other software out there, and we have looked at some of them before we started to develop our own software. And why is that? Because we did not feel that the existing software actually was fit for purpose, the way we want to deal with transfer pricing.
And to be more specific, where did these TP tools lack in your opinion?
I think most importantly, what we experienced is that the way we look at transfer pricing, we find it key that M&Es are able to tell their story. Transfer pricing is storytelling, and you need to be able to tell the story the way you want to tell it. And if you use a tool, it should support you and not force you into telling your story just a little bit different as you might have wanted to tell it. And other tools that we have looked at were putting strong emphasis on, let's say, the usual benefit of software being efficiency gains, but it lacked in flexibility, and it did not allow for the proper nuances in your storytelling as a client, as a M&E. And that was one of the main reasons for us to decide to develop our own version of a tool. So no M&E is the same. There will always be differences in how a corporate is organized, how it's using different business models. There's a different risk appetite, jurisdictions involved, different approaches to documentation. So with so many differences, we do not believe there's a one-size-fits-all approach for a TP tool. So we focused on making the tool flexible and easy to use. And I think that is a key differentiator from our tool compared to other tools. Coperitas is developed not just by IT experts, but it's developed with the input of transfer pricing expert and based on a broad expertise with both conceptual as well as pragmatic TP challenges. And this resulted, I think, in a helping hand for TP and tax professionals of M&Es, regardless if they are TP experts or not.
Okay, and for the audience, to summarize, Coperitas is flexible and easy to use and built for anyone who is involved within TP. Am I correct?
Yes, it's. I think that's an accurate summary. You don't need to be an expert to be able to use the tool. Of course, there is a basic knowledge of what you intend to use the tool for. But yes, I think that's a fair summary.
Okay, thank you. Then let's continue with the functionalities of Coperitas. So when we zoom in on what Coperitas has to offer, Coperitas is built on 3 pillars: overview and insight, monitoring, and documentation. Richard, can you take us through these pillars?
Sure, Mike. So let's first look at the pillar insight and overview. Although it may seem obvious for companies to have quick access to their relevant data, what we find in practice is that information is still scattered throughout an organization. And Coperitas allows you to store all relevant data within one single environment. And that includes financial information, legal information, and any other relevant document that you may think of. So finding and retrieving the data you need can be swift, and it does not require efforts of other departments, which can save considerable time and also frustration on a daily basis. Having access to the data is convenient, obviously, but it becomes even more interesting if you can obtain insight in key data and visualizing the results and applying relevant analytics to that data. So when all the data is stored in the system, we can move to the pillar 2, monitoring. So monitoring can be performed on all data embedded in Coperitas. And based on your specific preferences, relevant data can be displayed in a dashboard. And although having the required documentation may be an important part of your compliance puzzle, just having the documentation does not mean that you're in control of your transfer pricing. And having a control mechanism is an important part of today's compliance. Well, control requires some sort of framework that allows you to monitor, for instance, both internal and external deadlines, expiration of documents, and the documentation process, and whether your financials are, and more important, remain aligned with your transfer pricing policies. And then we come to the last pillar, documentation. Well, Coperitas allows a flexible approach to generate the relevant documentation you need. And the input for Coperitas can be your existing TP documentation, but you can also choose to generate your TP documentation making use of available standard text. Whether you have standardized your documents to a large extent and you only need to adjust for specific local circumstances, or you want to establish tailor-made local files per country that match local specific requirements, it's all possible. And it's for you as a user to decide how to use the tool. So we do not limit this to TP documentation, by the way, as Coperitas allows you to generate any document and apply the efficiencies that come along with it. In practice, tax departments, we found, often are responsible for managing also the intercompany agreements. And in large organizations, this can easily involve thousands of documents. And it's essential for tax departments to create, maintain, as well as monitor all sorts of documents that are relevant to them. Using Coperitas makes this easy, and it offers a single environment to document this in one package. We have discussed what Coperitas Functional has to offer, but let's also take a look at some snippets of the tool in practice. And we want to show you something about visualization, dashboarding, CBCR, and documentation. Mike, can you help us out?
Yes, thank you. So to start off with the visualizations, at the slide we see some snippets that are taken from the legal entity management part within Coperitas, where labels are applied and visualized. So this slide shows you in a glance how a full legal tree can be clustered into value chain activities with direct access to the relevant entities involved. In the top left corner, we see the actual legal tree visualization. And the snippet in the middle of the picture visualizes the value chain, and the snippet in the bottom right corner shows the value chain including all relevant entities from the legal tree. So this is the process to zoom in on your value chain. This is, however, one way Coperitas offers flexibility, as it allows for customized labels that can be tagged to an entity. Label management can be seen as sticky notes, as a comparison, and it allows you to cluster your organization according to your specific needs. This may be helpful in case of a matrix organization where reporting lines does not automatically follow the shareholder structure. So it gives you another visual of your legal structure. However, it's also important to note that labels can be created by the user itself without the need of Coperitas staff. Then we move on to the next snippet. Richard?
Yes, this slide shows some views of a dashboard. On your dashboard, it is possible to track what is important for you. It's part of our approach to flexibility. So it allows you to tailor the dashboard to your needs. And the data included in Coperitas as a system can be displayed in your dashboard, as we believe a good visual is much more easier to understand than just the figures. And if you have included CBCR data in the tool, you can perform detailed risk assessments on your filings to anticipate tax authorities' evaluations. So Coperitas can support you with risk assessment and filing of CBCR.
Okay, thank you. And then if we finally have a look at elements of the documentation process, it is possible to use your existing documentation as input for Coperitas, as we see on the slide. So previously drafted documents do not go to waste, and your storyline can be continued. And I think that's an important aspect we believe in as TP advisors. You can also create the templates yourself without the need of Coperitas staff, while also using your own styling settings. So the document you put in could also be the output. Finally, you can generate documents immediately, or you generate the documents whenever you need them at a later moment. Coperitas also allows you to store generated documents in one central place, so you'll always have all your documents within reach whenever necessary. At this moment, we have given you an idea why Coperitas is built and why Coperitas has to, what Coperitas has to offer. So to summarize, the main benefits for you are working in a professional digital environment and use the flexibility and scalability of Coperitas to suit your company's needs. So flexibility in this sense is key in our vision. And to give you any examples to support these benefits, first, obtain direct data access without the need to bother other departments. Second, improve your TP control framework by utilizing all monitoring functionalities. Third, remain flexible by setting up Coperitas to your needs. Fourth, become more efficient and consistent by using software and automation to your advantage. And fifth, reuse your existing TP documentation so no previously drafted documents or efforts are wasted. So now let's discuss the high-level overview of multiple ways how you as a client can use Coperitas and its support function. So Richard, can you guide us through this overview?
Certainly, Mike. So if you look at the table, you will see different options and different ways of cooperation between Coperitas and the M&E as a user. First of all, I think it's important to mention again that we are flexible and we will team up with our clients in establishing the best way to cooperate. And it depends on the specific needs and the resources available at a client to make the right choice. The use of Coperitas normally involves three main activities. First, technical setup, which consists of creating a private environment, including user management. Second, the data conversion of financial data and existing TP documentation, if available, into Coperitas. And then third, TP consultancy, which may include TP sanity checks on your TP documentation. And to make Coperitas work for you, we have created multiple options to choose from, and these options are not fixed, but they're, let's say, flexible in time according to your needs, including the level of support. All options include training to get familiar with Coperitas. Option A is what we call the lean and mean approach, where Coperitas provides access to your private environment while you, as a client, take care of all the data conversion. Option B is the joint effort, where Coperitas provides access to your private environment, while at the same time, data conversion will be a co-effort, a joint effort of both Coperitas staff and client staff. And option C is the full service option, where Coperitas takes care of all data conversion and provides you with a ready-to-go environment. If we look into the possibilities of TP consultancy, I think it's important to mention that Coperitas works independent from any tax or transfer pricing advisor. And therefore, in itself, Coperitas will not cover TP consultancy. This should be provided either by your in-house TP team or your external consultants. And Coperitas will cooperate with any existing advisor as we value maximum flexibility. Of course, if so requested by a client, Coperitas can also team up with Quantera Global as the transfer pricing partner that we have worked with to develop the tool. And that allows us to cover TP content together with the tool itself. This can be attractive as Quantera Global already is familiar with Coperitas, and it will be able to safeguard the storyline required while at the same time optimizing the efficiencies that Coperitas may bring.
Okay, thank you, Richard. I think that's a clear overview and a lot to choose from. So after this first high-level introduction, we will organize additional webinars in which we will drill down to more detail of how Coperitas deals with selected topics. So please follow our LinkedIn page to stay updated on timing of these webinars. And if you have a preference which topics you would like to see first, or if you miss any topics in this list displayed, do not hesitate to let us know via LinkedIn or info@coperitas.com, which is much appreciated. And I think it's safe to say that we now have come to the end of this brief introduction of Coperitas, and we hope this was informative to you.
Yes, and we want to thank you for your time, but please remind that to give you the best impression of how Coperitas might work for you, you're invited to request a free of charge live demo. Such demo usually takes up about 1 hour and can take place online, which in the current COVID-19 situation is very helpful. Please feel free to contact us through our website, coperitas.com, or just send a short email to info@coperitas.com.
And if you want to stay updated on the latest development of the software Coperitas itself, please follow our website or LinkedIn page. Thank you for your attention, and it was our pleasure to provide you with this brief webinar. We wish you a wonderful day, and we hope to speak to you soon. Thank you.